As Creswell points out, the qualitative researcher today has to choose between numerous research strategies and designs. What criteria should we use in selecting our research design? Creswell defines research design as approaches to research that encompass formulating research questions and procedures for collecting, analyzing, and reporting findings. In Learning Unit 1, John Schultz talked about the relationship between worldviews, paradigms, and qualitative as well as quantitative research designs. In this presentation, we will focus on qualitative research designs and give an overview of the most common ones. In the course book, Creswell gives a brief overview of the most common designs in qualitative research, but to get a more elaborate discussion on the designs, you should also read his article, Qualitative Research Design, Selection and Implementation, which is available in this learning unit. In his book, in Figure 1.1, Creswell illustrates the interconnection between worldviews, designs, and research methods. Be aware that scholars use these concepts slightly differently, as Creswell also explains in Chapter 1 of his book. Although we will focus on research design in this session, it is important to consider how the design is linked to the philosophical worldview or interpretive paradigm, as well as to our choice of methods for data collection and analysis. In the upper left corner here, you see that Creswell has mentioned post-positivist, worldview or paradigm, constructivist, transformative, and pragmatic. And he illustrates how this is connected to the design and the actual research methods that we end up using in our research. And look at Table 1.1 in his book for a further explanation of the various worldviews. Now, the common qualitative designs in health research sort under the constructivist paradigm, the pragmatic paradigm, and the transformative paradigm. And here we are going into interview designs, ethnography and case study, mixed methods, and participatory action research. Let's start looking at interview designs, focusing on narrative research. Narrative research is rooted in the humanities, and it's used when detailed stories help us understand a problem. A narrative is a written or spoken text giving an account of an event or action or a series of events and action. And the important thing here is that it should be chronologically connected. Research questions are about life experience of individuals and how they unfold over time. This research method uses few study participants, and the sources, the data collection tools are life history interviews, diaries, and letters. An example would be a narrative on the development of a disease like diabetes. Another important research design in qualitative research is phenomenology. Phenomenology is rooted in philosophy, and it's used when the researcher seeks to understand the lived experience of persons about a particular phenomenon. Phenomena are real because they are treated as real by the study participants. So it doesn't look for an objective truth, but for the experiences of individual people. It aims to understand the essence of a phenomena, to grasp the very nature of a particular thing. And look at this concept of life world. What does that mean? It's the everyday world that we experience and take for granted. And how the life world is experienced and actively created through talk, interaction, and behavior is the focus in phenomenology. Phenomenology focuses on human experience, and this human experience may, for example, be anger, pain, happiness, exclusion, disease, or an healthcare intervention. It normally collects data from about 5 to 25 people who share a particular experience, and the main data collection method is in-depth interviews. As mentioned, it develops a description of the essence of an experience. It does not focus on explanations, but sort of the core of a particular phenomenon, experience. It could be, for example, a study of the experience of pain related to a particular disease, such as cancer, or it could be back pain or neck pain or the like. Furthermore, we have grounded theory, which is also an interview design. Grounded theory is rooted in sociology and is used when the researcher derives a general abstract theory of a process, action, or interaction, and when this is grounded in the views of participants. Thus, it uses an inductive approach with no predefined theory to guide the research. And again, the source is interviews. Grounded theory uses a cyclical process of collecting data, analyzing it, develop a coding scheme, then new sampling and analysis, etc., until saturation. The concept of saturation is very much core in grounded theory, and that is when no new construct emerge from the data, that the results of your interviews, the findings of your interviews become the same. You don't get anything new, even if you add new participants. That's when your data have been saturated, and that's when you stop recruiting participants or going back to the same participants for in-depth exploration of a particular phenomenon. Now let's look at ethnography. Ethnography is rooted in anthropology. It's the study of social interactions, behaviors, and perceptions that occur within groups, teams, organizations, or communities. The task is to document the culture, the perspectives, the practices of the people in these particular settings. And in ethnography, we aim to get inside and to learn the way a particular group of people sees the world, to learn from them. And its aim is to get a detailed or thick description of the study content. In ethnography, we use a number of data sources. Participant observation is the hallmark and presupposes direct engagement and involvement in the world of the study participants. You are there and taking part in the daily activities of the group that you're studying. And the particular data collection methods include observations, informal conversations, as well as informal in-depth interviews. But it also includes photos, diaries, letters. In ethnography, we usually say that everything can count as data. What you experience as part of a community or a hospital ward may count as data, as long as it's ethically safe to use it. Ethnography is suitable, for example, for studying approaches to provide care and for studying health worker-patient interaction. Now let's move to case studies. Case studies are found in many fields. It's an approach that facilitates exploration of a phenomenon within its context. The phenomena is explored through different lenses. You have different entry points to look at the particular case. The case can be an individual, it can be many individuals, a group, a program, an activity, an event, etc. And again, it's a detailed description of that case. We say that the case is treated as a bounded system in time and place, but the boundary between the case and the context is often blurred and not that easy to make. Also in case studies, there is a huge emphasis on context, and the sources are multiple. You can use interviews, focus group discussions, observations, and so on. An example of a case study could be a health program, like the Prevention of Mother-to-Child Transmission program. Finally, we'll look at mixed methods. Mixed method combines quantitative and qualitative approaches to counteract the weaknesses connected to the use of only one method. And Creswell distinguishes between sequence and priority in mixed methods designs. Let's look at this following figure. He emphasizes the complementary use of qualitative and quantitative research and has divided it into 4 different squares. In the upper left square, qualitative research precedes quantitative. For example, to explore the meaning of concepts to be used in a questionnaire, like for example work. How do people define the concept work? In this design, the quantitative method counts more. Now let's go to the upper right square. Quantitative research precedes qualitative, for example, to identify issues that you want to follow up qualitatively and study in depth. In this design, qualitative counts more. Let's go to the lower left square. Quantitative research precedes the qualitative component and counts more. An example would be when you make a survey using questionnaire and you discover a few issues that you want to look into using in-depth interviews. In the lower right square, qualitative research precedes quantitative and counts more. An example would be you have done a qualitative study on perceptions and experience of breastfeeding and you discover what women commonly struggle to continue exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months. Now you want to understand how many women introduce other food before the baby is 6 months, and you make a questionnaire-based survey. Finally, we go to participatory action research, in short PAR. This belongs to a different paradigm, which is transformative, because it involves a call for change. In this design, values are explicit and desired. It aims to improve the quality of life of people, and it's committed to social justice and equity. When you do a participatory action research, you have to have the trust of the people, and there needs to be commitment and dialogue. The researchers and the members of the community are involved at all levels of the research process in order to find solutions to a social problem affecting the community. Now, a caution. Typologies are problematic, and they are not necessarily mutually exclusive. The divisions between different designs are actually not clear-cut. An ethnographic study may want to include, for example, a case study. It's impossible to develop an exhaustive typology. Some studies do not fit in. For example, the typical qualitative research study in public health is a low-scale qualitative interview study, which does not sort under any of the mentioned study designs, but which is treated as a study design in itself in public health. Now back to the research question. The research question is basic when deciding on the research design, and in the following we will focus on the research question. And in the end of this learning unit, you will yourself define your research question for the mini research exercise.